Hello, welcome to the Bee Formless Flow Driven CEO podcast. I won't say all the way, I have from San Diego in the USA. I'm going to say the dynamic duo, which is Carrie and Sam Mayers. I've got that right. You're saying, yes, Carrie and Sam Mayers. Welcome to the show, Carrie and Sam.
Thank you. We're excited to be here.
Yeah. And I want you to put your who's who, Carrie's which one? Carrie, go,
Carrie. Yep.
and
And
Sam.
me?
This is the second time I've had, two guests, at the one time on my show, and I'm pretty thrilled because I love this whole, I guess, story, if you like, and I don't know much about this story yet, and I'm looking forward to unpacking it with you and sharing it with our audience. But we've got 5 generations or so in business right now, and this sounds like a gorgeous or beautiful, generational business, family business, where you've got mum and young next gen daughter, working together and continuing to build the business that Carrie, you started back in 32 years ago, so 1992, which is
Yeah.
incredible.
Yeah.
And as the founder, you're the founder of Corporate Coaching Co. And it's abbreviated into C3. I went to say the 3 C's, but the C3. And my Friday brain was like, C3. And you're like, Corporate Coaching Co. I'm like, I get it. But yeah, an executive coach, consultant, and facilitator, 32 years plus experience. You've worked across so many industries: real estate, healthcare, construction, legal, banking, and tech. And the business was originally launched and continues to help and guide, support individuals and teams, create healthier, high-performing workplaces. Amazing. I'll get back to you in a minute, Carrie, because I do want to introduce Sam. Sam started in the business in only, you said January of this year, Sam. So what, we're 11 months in.
Yep.
And 26, so a young Gen Zer. I think I've got you're a Gen Zer, right? Yeah, Gen
I'm
Z.
right on the cusp. Gen Z, millennial,
Yeah,
both.
Stella, yeah. And you're a partner in the business as a consultant coach. You previously worked as a technology consultant at PwC, so one of the big fours, leading Salesforce implementation and change management programs for exec level clients before joining what you said is a family firm. Tell us about. I'll let you two work out how you want to share this, but maybe we start with you, Carrie, and how you came into starting the company, and then Sam, what I guess was the desire, or what had you have, why you then came into the company this year.
Yeah. I'm happy to start. And I think it's so interesting because when she gets to her part, I think there's some inside out work that happened that kind of got her to that point. So I was working, I guess for me too, I was working for a nationwide company. I was a sales manager and a regional sales trainer. And so this was back in the late 80s. And we wound up relocating from Los Angeles to San Diego, and the company had an opportunity for me. So I was managing 2 markets, San Diego and Orange County. And so if people aren't familiar, if there's no traffic, it takes about an hour and 15 minutes to get from one office to the other. And it could take up to 4 hours, depending on what's going on that day on the freeways and what time you're driving. So when I transferred down here, they told me you're going to have 4 days in San Diego and 1 day in Orange County. And I was like, okay, I can do 1 day of driving like that. And it very quickly became, as things do, not that.
Yeah.
And I was spending 4 days a week in Orange County and 1 day a week in San Diego. And that wasn't working for my marriage. So, we were thinking about starting a family, and we bought a house and we got a dog. And my husband's like, are you joining me in this journey, or what are you doing? So fortunately, I was in a position where I could leave that job and kind of figure out what I wanted to do next. Mm-hmm. And I always loved training. That was the thing that I loved. Anytime I was able to train individuals or groups for the company I was at, that was my passion. And so I had amazing clients in San Diego. And so when I left, I was like, well, maybe I'll try to do it on my own a little bit. I'll see if I can I wrote some curriculum and I went to some of my clients and said, hey, this is what I'm doing now. If there's any, if you could give me a chance or whatever, if you need it, I would love to do it. And I will be eternally grateful to the clients that said, yes, we would love to have you come in and do it. And so it kind of started there. That is where it started. And then just been super fortunate because I would say that 95% of my business and our business now for the last 32 years is referral based.
Oh,
It's
wow.
all, people either know somebody or they leave a company and go to another company and we get brought along, and just so incredibly grateful for the ride. And I don't think I ever expected it to be as big as it's gotten. It's been crazy. I mean, for me to wind up where I have, and then also, to now be able to share it with Sam is a dream. It's crazy.
Totally. Because it's almost like, I'm not suggesting you're going anywhere, but like the change of guard, like handing over you've had a business for 32 years. That's hugely successful. Like it's no small feat having, starting a business, building it and having it for as long as you've had it, because you've been through, no doubt, so many different life, kind of experiences, but also like from a business perspective, economically, everything, like, GFC, like even what's going on now, there's so many different things that have happened in the world over 32 years.
Yeah.
And
Yeah. I feel really old every time you say that, but yes, it's true. It's true. It's
really
a lot.
true.
It's a lifetime. It's a lifetime of stuff, right? It's kids. It's all the sports, all the things, that have happened. And I can't remember who we were chatting with, but I was saying that, it's so highly personal to me since I'm the person that's written the curriculum, that I have executed it, that I did have a partner in probably, I want to say 25 years ago now. And it was for about a year, like this woman that I loved. And unfortunately, her daughter, when her daughter was born, she decided to move back to Texas. So that kind of ended that. But other than her, and there's not been another person that I have felt like I could say, yeah, you go ahead and you do that workshop, and I'm confident that it will be as I would do it. You know what I mean? So I always joke that I had to make a partner because I couldn't find a partner. And so now
How good. I love it. So just quickly, Carrie, before we get Sam to share her story, have you always been like, have you got a team in the business, or has it just always been you?
Me.
Wow, amazing. Gosh, we're gonna have to come back to how you've been able to juggle it all, like, with the family and the business. But I think that's also the freedom of having your own business, right? We'll come back to you. Sam, tell us a little bit about your story.
Yeah. So I graduated in 2021 and I immediately went to PwC. So I was there about 3.5 years. And it was like a dream role for me. I knew I wanted to be a consultant. I knew I wanted to be at a Big Four. And I worked really hard, but this opportunity kind of fell into my lap. So I was doing Salesforce implementation. So technology, software design, implementation, and training. And loving it. I was traveling every week. I was dealing with big clients, and I don't think that there's a lot of experience in this world where as a 22-year-old, you're like the CEO's go-to person. And so, cool. So having that experience was invaluable and incredible. But as I was looking towards my future and the leadership at the firm, I knew what I was going to have to give up in my personal life. And, as a 25-year-old, I had kind of figured out that just wasn't going to be for me. That's not the life that I wanted to live. So like Carrie was saying, and I don't know how many people who are listening know your story, Bee, but a little bit inside out. And I kind of took a look around and evaluated and was like, is that the life I want? I could have it if I want it. I was bought in. I was loving the work, and I think after kind of doing an analysis of what I loved about that current role and maybe what I wasn't super excited about, and then deciding I wasn't going to give up some of those things in my personal life to make the sacrifices I needed to be successful at that company, I kind of came to Carrie, to my mom, and a lot of what I loved about my current role, I was leading the onboarding for my practice, and I was doing the training of all the software for all of my clients and stuff. It was similar to the things she was doing. And I think the stars kind of just aligned and the opportunity presented itself. And I, was thinking if it is going to be a riskier move, now's the time to go for it. So we had, my dad, her husband's support, and my boyfriend's support, and we all kind of jumped in.
Oh my gosh, I've got so many questions. I love this story. It's giving me little goosebumps, but like, because even just the way you said Carrie, and I'm like, that's your mom. Like,
I know.
I'm giggling. But like, so my first question is, do you call mum outside of work and Carrie in work? Like, how does it work, that bit?
You know what? It's kind of
Fluid.
It depends. Mostly Carrie at work.
Yeah.
If we're with people we've known for a long time, or she's been in business 32 years. I'm 26. Like, I've grown up with some of these people. So, they'll tell me, they'll be like, oh, well, your mom said. And so I say mom to them, but any new clients or new people, she's Carrie. And then I think personally, it's usually mom, but sometimes Carrie, it's.
Unless she thinks I'm not listening.
It's however I feel.
Breaks out of Carrie.
Yeah. And have you two both done have you ever done a personality test to kind of work out who's like, how you two like?
Oh. We have a personality styles workshop that we do.
I love
it. And so we do communication around that. And we're like almost perfectly complementary. Like I'm an expressive dominant, and she's a dominant expressive. So
I love it. I love it. So you have this, like, the stars aligned. At what point did you all just sit down, and that was like, how did you make it happen?
So I just want to say, it's so funny because it was like a year ago, probably like almost this week, that you told me, because it was November when you said to me.
It was November.
Right. So, and I just want to give her a little bit more. She led a leadership development program in college. She had that she led, and she'd used some of my material in that program. And then during college, I had brought her with me to do some work with a client that I've been working with a long time. So there were sort of like some little
energies
things
along the way. Yeah.
Yeah. But then last November, I can't remember where we were. I just remember you looking at me saying, I'll
tell you, we were in a car and I was crying. And then as I was crying, saying maybe this is what she would do, then she started crying. So it was a very, emotional, and it was a big decision. Like I said, like, this was my dream career.
Yeah.
Like, I couldn't have imagined getting any
exactly what you wanted to do.
Like, I felt so honored. And I think throughout my time there, and I think that this is really important, like, as much at the end, knowing I didn't want to be there or didn't see a future for myself there, I still felt so immensely grateful that I had the role that I had always wanted.
Yeah. Yeah.
But we cried in the car.
And here we are.
Totally. And there's more we're going to get into, but Sam, 20, how old were you then? You would have been 25, right? And you've had this almost like, kind of 25, crises where it was not a crisis, but you're just like, and this is something really interesting around your generation in terms of, like, have you always looked at your mum, or Carrie, if you like, and what she's done and how she's built the business? Like, what was it that made you go, I've got to where I wanted to get to, or I'm in the dream role, for example. I could either keep going up this ladder, if you like, and step by step, or I look at what Mum's done, or Carrie's created with her business, and how it's enabled Carrie to also be able to be an amazing mum, juggle everything, build a really successful business. And you said you didn't want to sacrifice things that you knew you would have to sacrifice when it came to. So what was it? Was it something that you observed through your mum over the years, where you got to this point last year where you were like, oh, I could go this way, but there's too many things I'm going to sacrifice? Like, what influenced it, I guess, is my question.
That's a good question. I think, when I was evaluating at that time, I was thinking about the freedom that she really had growing up, and the things that she was able to go to. And even now, like, I'd be in the thick of it on the phone with China and all the engineers and all that stuff. And she's like, I'm getting my nails done. Like, you know what I mean? And I was like, oh my God, I'm so jealous of your life. Like, I want to be doing that right now, you know? Not to say we're not busy and work really hard, but it's,
Yeah,
you know,
I get it.
a different schedule. We have a little more flexibility and freedom. So I think and I'll say, like, my goals completely just shifted. Like, my dream just changed. I went from and
Partner by the time you're 30.
yeah, I went, like, you know, I was like, I want to be like the youngest partner, and I want to get on partner track, and I want to work really hard, and I want to travel every week, and I'm not afraid of the late hours and the early mornings. You know, to really thinking about, like, could I have that and also give my all to the people that I love? And the answer was no. I had seen it time and time again with other partners at the firm, just like, and I love everybody, but the sheer amount of people that get divorced or talk about how their family unit is suffering, or like, it was just story after story. And I knew that that was the expectation.
Yeah.
And it, and looking to the hopefully near future of what my life's going to look like, I just wasn't really prepared for that. Like, I just felt like I was in a meeting, and then I would be so awful to the people at home, and I was like, okay, these strangers who are paying my checks or whatever, but I'm like, they get my best, and at the end of the day, the people that I love really weren't getting my best, and that didn't sit well with me. And so I knew that I had to change.
Incredible. Which actually takes me into the response you both gave, and back to the business, because it's quite profound that at 25 you saw that. And, you know, for me, this is around, you know, the world as we know it, and there's no such thing as, well, we need to redefine success and reshape what success and, you know, career looks like. And you decided and made a clear choice that that wasn't for you. And yet it's continuing, that what we're seeing is it's continuing to happen, right? In terms of people are making a lot of sacrifices to, I guess, almost chase that outside, you know, because I think that's going to fulfill them, right? And so when you booked into the pod, and I asked you what's unique, what's one unique insight or lived experience that you would like to share in life, leadership, and or business, this one really intrigued me, because you said we typically see the same 3 to 5 challenges that all businesses face, and they all center around communication. And our big message is the most important thing is to align your intention with your impact. And most people move through life unintentionally. And so everything you were just talking about, Sam and Carrie, 32 years in business, you must see this time and time again. And almost like when someone's telling you something, you kind of like, and you know, do you know, do you know what I'm saying? And so you said, and most people move through life unintentionally, leading to misalignment and disengagement. Tell us a bit about that.
Oh man, that's such a big question. But I think that people go through their day not really thinking about what they're communicating, how they're communicating, what they need to communicate, thinking about the other person in that communication. I think that especially post-COVID, and to your point, 5 generations in the workplace. I mean, we have a more complicated situation today than we have ever had. And we are probably thinking the least about it. Although I will say, I think that there does seem to be a refocusing on soft skills, because I think leaders and companies are realizing that if they don't fix that problem, they're never going to grow to where they could potentially get to. You just can't, you know? And I think, you know, you talked about just intention and impact. And I think about a lot, all these kids. I was talking to somebody earlier today, and, you know, there's this big movement to bring people back to work. Well, you know, people like you and I, and even Sam, we've been at work, so we understand what going back to work looks like. There are people who they're like, back to work. They've never been at work.
Yeah.
They don't even know how to go to work.
Yeah.
what does that even mean? You know,
Yeah.
put on clothes and go to a place and come in and sit at a and sit near other people. Like they don't even know how to do it,
Yeah.
you know? And so figuring out, like, again, intentionally, especially from a leadership place, how we engage people in the workforce. How do I need to communicate with the Gen Zs versus the boomers versus we were in a meeting with a client and the leadership team is on the older side and they're like, we're not using Teams. Like people can call. And we're like, what? So, and then you have in a company of hundreds of people, you have people who don't understand, why would you call me if I could, so the desire and the willingness and the ability really to talk about those things so that we can make sure, if our intention is to create this amazing workplace where people want to come and be a part of it and be engaged and be passionate and excited about what they're doing, that we as leaders are doing everything we can to lay the groundwork for that to be the case.
Yeah.
Because the onus is on us first.
Yeah, agree. It's so true. And especially now with you two in the business together, like, I mean, you've obviously got a lot of different companies that you work with, right? And it is, multi-generational. Like, how do you two work like that then as well in terms of from a communication perspective? Because, Carrie, you and I, we're older, like, but we're getting younger as we're getting older. But like, there's, we've got a lot of, wisdom, we've got a lot of experience, but we're continuously learning in terms of, from the younger generations. But I also think that, Sam, you're also learning from the likes of, Carrie and myself and our lived experience and our business experience. It is quite the dynamic duo in terms of the ability to go into a business and have a younger up and coming generation and then the older generation, and coming into a business and having that positioning to be able to go in and, like you were just talking about, Carrie, in terms of we're not doing teams because the younger, like you both it's cool because you can bridge that gap. You can play the yin and yang of, well, hang on a second, when it comes to communication, because as coaches, consultants, facilitators, like the experience of the two of you and that combination, do you know what I mean? Do you leverage that when you're going into businesses and use that when you get this resistance from some of the different forms of, well, we're just going to do it this way because this is the way we've always done it, or we need to bring everyone back to work?
Do we leverage that?
So it's interesting. And I think yes. I think one of the really cool things is that I am very like system, process, and technology focused because that's what my background is in. So one of the things that I think is helpful is, I could come in, and if clients want help with their software or they want to do training, that's a service that we now offer.
Yeah,
so
cool.
I can say, I'm like, step out, let me get this done. Like, don't even worry about it. But, going back to, so the personality styles that we teach, one of the things that you should know about Carrie, who is an expressive, is that she's people first. So she has a very innate ability, I think, to push back for the greater good.
Yeah, awesome.
So when we go into a situation and people are like, we don't want to do that, she's thinking about the other people. So even if she doesn't she's like, I also don't want to use Teams. We don't use Teams. You know what I mean? But she knows that she can defend that group of people.
Yeah.
And I think with that paired with like my knowledge of the software and my personal experience of like, here's how I would use it, here's why it's important, all of those pieces, I think that they play on each other.
Yeah.
Love it. What do you think is the biggest opportunities in leadership right now? Like just right in this very moment in time, in terms of like, Carrie, in particular, you've seen so like some things don't change, right? And like the themes coming through, but like, what are you seeing as the biggest opportunities? And I'd love both your perspectives on this as well.
Gosh, that's it feels like such a big question right now because I think there's such a lack of greater leadership to look up to. Because I think Sam and I can say we both believe that leadership by example is a big thing, that people will follow the leader, whatever the behavior is, whatever
100%.
that, right? However I behave, that's the behavior that I'm basically condoning in others. And so I think I think because there is a lack of that greater leadership to look up to just in the world, that people really have to intentionally decide, what kind of leader do I want to be? How do I want to be seen? What's the reputation that I want? And now how do I have to behave to ensure that that's the reputation I get? I think the amount of, I just think that leadership is requiring a completely different level of intention, and also, you know, with regard to, I just want to go back to communication really quick, because I think there are a lot of people who think they're great communicators or think they're great leaders. But the only thing that matters in a communication, really, or if I'm a leader, is how you feel about it
Yeah,
as the person
that's
receiving it.
totally right.
And so, I think that there's a lot of discussion about, oh, vulnerability is weak and it's soft, and we have to, between coddling everybody, I think there's a way to make people feel seen and heard without being soft.
Yeah.
Right? We kind of label things so that we can excuse ourselves from doing that thing that is critical to people doing great work. Like, if you want people to do great work, there are things that you can do as a leader to help that happen.
100%. I could not agree more. And it's funny you bring this up. Like, something's just come up for me or popped up for me in terms of, even like the rigidity around soft skills and hard skills. Like,
Yes.
stop. Like, it's you need both. Like, like that whole rigidity around, because soft skills, like you say, they've been put to the side for so long, but they're kind of coming, like, people are realizing more and more we need these, but that's the alignment of needing both. And like,
Yeah.
let's not separate them from a leadership standpoint. But absolutely, communication and, leadership is one and the same, and how you lead, how you communicate, for your people. Sam, what's your view? What do you think is?
Um, so I think, especially, we keep coming back to this generation thing, but it's so important.
Mhm.
Like the technology difference, the motivation difference, what
Mhm.
people believe they deserve, it's just also
Yeah.
different, right? And so I think that one of the most important things now that leaders can do is surround yourself with people willing to tell you the truth and be open to hearing it. We say a lot, like learning how to not talk and just listen is so important. I'm going to call it the power of shutting up, right?
Yeah.
Like, if you think that you can surround yourself with smart enough people that you truly trust and believe have the best for you, like the best for you and your organization in mind, like there is nothing you shouldn't be able to say to each other. And I think forming that team and getting the right people together across generations or whoever it may be to stand up for everyone that's on your team is going to be really, really important now and moving forward.
And I think just genuinely caring what other people need,
Staying curious,
is,
because we're not going to change that, right? Like, the younger generations really we call it work-life harmony, not work-life balance, because it just sounds like it molds and flows.
Well, balance does this, right?
I agree. I hate the term balance. I call it life work flow. I've actually flipped it to life work flow, because life feels like it's in the, like it's life first. Work fits into life. Life doesn't fit into work, Yeah.
So that life work flow that this younger generation is like hungry for. They're like, I have a job so that I can pay for all these fun things that I want to do, right? And so I think a lot of leadership is like, well, we can change that. Like, we'll give them more money, we'll motivate them with money, and we'll do all these things. And it just doesn't work like that anymore, right? So to really,
or they say they're lazy.
Yeah, or they think they're lazy, right?
They don't want to work. They have no work ethic.
They want to work till 5 p.m. because they've set those boundaries. Like, whatever it is, understanding that as generations change, like we don't have to accept mediocre work. Like, we should still have high expectations, but we do have to understand that now that people's motivations are changing, we have to offer different things.
Yeah.
And that's has to come from the leader.
Yeah, I totally agree. So you two as a team, and how do you guys communicate? Because, or you ladies, I should say, because your mother and daughter, so you've got that form of communication, then you've got the communication within the business. did you from the outset when you decided to go into business together or you joined the family business, Sam, like was there like a situation where you sat there and you're like, let's agree our communication and how we're going to communicate with others? Because, and another question to this is quite often we don't establish the communication rhythm and how, within business, within teams, within leaders, and that's half the downfall, right? Like you need to have that rhythm or, that shared clear goal is what I call it. How do you two do it? Like, how do you ensure that you constantly communicating because mums and daughters they have their moments, but you look like you've got an amazing relationship, but it still requires communication.
Yeah, I think it's funny because, we've always been close. So like not a day has gone by probably since I've had a phone that we've not talked.
Same with my
So
mum.
yeah, right. So it kind of just seamlessly, like talk about flow, like it just flows. Like in the same text, we'll be talking about, we have to send these invoices and we have to write this workshop and we have to do this. Also, like, did you try this new recipe? How's home? Did you buy that new couch? Like it just, we text, we call, we email, but it's all very, very fluid. Although I love what you're saying about this communication plan because we work with so many companies to help standardize and set them up for success. And I think, it's just the two of us. So like we have some systems in place, but we're not over systematized.
Okay.
And if we were going to you know what I mean? If we were going to bring on other people, like we would probably create a more like rigid, this is what's going on. But because it's just the two of us, like we kind of free form, but we also know like, nothing's off of limits. Like we work together, but of course we're mom and daughter. So like conversation changes from business to personal and back like all the time.
And yeah, it's so funny because we do get asked like, your mom and daughter. So, what's like the tension points and stuff. And we hate to disappoint, but we literally don't have them. And Sam was a competitive gymnast. So we traveled a lot together. We spent a lot of time together driving and flying and whatever. And so we've always it's just always, whatever it is, it's just always worked.
Yeah, but that's the best form of a relationship, whether it is in life or whether it is in business, right? Like,
Totally.
it's the more you hustle, the more you try, the more you force versus flow, it just doesn't work. And I think that this is coming back to your point around we move through life so unintentionally. I want to talk about a little bit about that for a few minutes, if that's okay with you. Just in terms of what you observe, what are you observing in businesses that makes you go, most people are moving through life unintentionally?
I think it's the first. Yeah. I like a couple things come to mind. One, well, we say like, don't just talk about it, be about it, right? Like I can very clearly tell from anyone, from an outside observer, how you spend your day, what your priorities are, and what the impact you have is, right? But that doesn't always match up to what the words you're saying are. So, like we have a client who talks nonstop about how important training is. We're going to offer you training. We're going to offer you hours of training every week, all of this stuff. Like we care about your development, which is amazing. But then they tie all of this like structure and, compensation to the training. So it becomes like, let me just check it off. Okay, I was there. Let me sign my name and let me get the heck out of there. So the intention is we want to offer all this training and we want you to grow. And the impact is in order to get paid at the end of the year, you have to do X many hours. And so they just go through the motions.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's a tick box exercise.
Yeah. Right. So I think like that's a big example for me, but there's also, and I think Carrie said it earlier too, right? But like whatever behavior we accept, we condone. Yeah. So if there's a leader talking about how much they value teamwork and honesty and all of this stuff, but then there's one person on the team that just shows up late every day and is mean to everybody and all this stuff, but does nothing about it, like even if your intention is to make your team feel good, by having that one person that makes everybody feel bad, you are accepting that behavior. So that is not the impact that you are having.
I love it. I love it. A couple of last questions for you both. This is to you, Carrie. What does the business look like for you in 5 years' time?
The
That's
same.
yeah. I think that, yeah, I don't know actually that it looks much different than it looks now. I think we may try to change or reshape the makeup of services that we're offering in a different way, like maybe doing some more workshops and a little less of something else. But I think, I mean, I feel like we had a really good year together, and yeah, I think probably our vision is to, or mine, I won't speak for you, but maybe to do some to grow the client base. I've been very fortunate. I've had clients
Yeah,
in our
yeah.
portfolio for 30. I have a client that I've been working with for 30 years. I started 32 years ago. I'm still working with this client 32 years. Like I can't even, it made insane gratefulness for that, and clients for 10 years and 15 years. So I think maybe to bring on some new, some new, not to never leave the old ones. I love them
No,
to
no,
death,
no, totally.
but to add some, some new clients, and
Mhm.
just see maybe what kinds of things we can do to grow the business in that way. We're talking about doing some conferences. And before Sam joined me, I just want to say, like, I never had a website. I never had business cards. Well, I did have business cards for a while. I never gave them out. I wasn't in corporate. Like, it was just me doing my thing that just sort of oddly kept growing
Yeah.
and became something. And then she said she wanted to join me last November. And then by the end of December, we were incorporated. We had bank accounts, or like all the things, website,
I love it. So cool.
so,
Yeah,
yeah.
it's
I
so
mean, you never would have found me, never, ever, ever, if
very
it wasn't for her, for
yeah,
sure.
so cool. I love it. And one
Yeah.
last question for you before I go over to ask Sam exactly the same questions. What motivates you? Like, I mean, you've been doing this for 32 years. How do you ensure you have your own, life workflow? How do you, like business isn't easy some days. You're just like, or maybe it has been the whole time for you, but there's moments, right? Like where things happen, like, so how have you how have you kept your cup full this whole time? Like, and sometimes the cup empties, but what do you do to ensure that it stays full as much as you possibly can?
So
She loves a full cup.
I,
She's like, keep
I,
your cup full of Moscow Mule and you're fine.
I freaking love what I do. And I feel so lucky every day, like every day that I get to do what I love to do. Like, I am acutely aware of how fortunate I am. And I love my clients. Like, I don't know. I can't even, on my most frustrating day, I would never choose to do anything else. I've never thought about like walking away. I'm over this. Like, what I do fills me up.
Yeah, I love it.
Like,
So cool.
that's, yeah.
Yeah, no, thank you. And Sam, what about you? Where do you see the business in the next 5 years? And what keeps
Um,
you motivated and going?
I think it's similar. Like Carrie was saying, figuring out what that balance looks like of workshops and new clients and growing. And, I don't think people always talk about franchising and bringing people on, and like that's not us. I think one of the main goals that we have is the level of freedom that we get to move around and travel and do things together. So I think just staying, like keeping those goals in mind and then building and growing and morphing, like in terms of like what that means. But I think there's a lot of like, we're starting to write workshops on generational differences and learning styles and all of these really cool things. So I think expanding our offerings and continuing to foster those relationships and get new ones sounds exciting to me. And then motivation wise, like I think I take a lot of, personal motivation as well, like being able to spend time with my family and being able to take the vacation or work from anywhere if I need to be able to. And there's also, I think, something that's so beautiful when you're having a conversation and someone is like, they're like, I didn't think I had any options, and now I feel a little bit more empowered. And so giving people almost like relighting their fire.
Yeah, illuminating.
Like,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? Like, so like, I feel like at least once a week, there's a moment where it's like, we gave someone another option today. And that feels really, really good.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. Last question, and it's not even a question. What would be one piece of advice you two would give anyone who was starting their own business or joining forces from a family perspective, like you two have done?
I'll start. I'll say this. It works for us, but I would be really, really honest with yourself. We have other friends and families that have gone in business together. And like, if you're not honest with yourself about if it's really going to work and if it's really going to be good, like the relationship is more important than the business. Like, don't forget that. So, I think really looking in and figuring that out. But I also, and I've said this before, like just betting on yourself goes a long way. Like, it doesn't have to be your final step. It can be your next step, but action is just better than inaction. And movement is so important in this life. Like, just keep moving forward.
And I think also to add to that, and that was all well said, that patience and trusting the process and doing, doing all the right things to move yourself forward and just letting it unfold a little bit too, like I feel I'm a big believer in energy, and what we create and what we can create for ourselves and for others. And so I think sometimes people get so anxious and they're trying so hard to make things happen that the things can't happen because of how hard they're trying.
Blocking the energy. Yeah.
And so just if you believe in what you're doing and
you're working hard
and you're doing the right things and you're working at the pace you need to and working hard, like it's going to happen. Like you'll get there wherever you're supposed to be,
Cool.
So, and also the last thing I want to say just about the motivation thing, because one of the things I was thinking was there was a time probably before Sam joined where I was like, gosh, I don't know. Will I work 3 more years, 5 more years? Like, what will I? But it is absolutely reinvigorating and has a whole new level of motivation to have her with me has been.
Yeah, I can tell. It's gorgeous. Like,
Fun.
I love it. It's so cool. So amazing and beautiful to talk to you both. Thank you so much. How do we find out more about your business? How do we find out more about each of you?
Yeah, you can go to our website, which we now have, like Carrie mentioned, Corp Coaching Co., CORP, coachingco.com. We have a contact form. You can actually set up time to talk with us directly. And you can LinkedIn. We have a corporate LinkedIn and then individually as well, Carrie and Sam Mayers. You can find us on LinkedIn as well as just shooting us an email. We love to talk. It's Carrie at Corp Coaching Co. or Samantha at Corp Coaching Co. And we'd love to continue this discussion with anyone who wants to do it.
Thank you so much, ladies. So I love the way you're reshaping, like everything about what you're doing and continuing to, just go with it and the dynamic duo. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you so much. This is amazing. It was great meeting you, Bee.
Yeah, no, take care. Thank you.